6, 2023 at 10:15 a.m. at 20 seconds. I begin writing again. I didn't know the difference between love and abuse. My next trauma involved three of my uncles: Uncle C, Uncle R, and baby Uncle L. Unlike Cousin T, I adored these uncles, but they were molesters too. The perversion that they taught me was in a totally different manner than what Cousin T did to me. And they were much younger than Cousin T. We were closely related in age, and I loved them. Every time Cousin T penetrated me, it was extremely painful, and then he left. But my uncles, we played together. They would tickle my thigh, make me laugh. They took me everywhere with them, and they were proud to call me their niece. I even liked being around them, even though they tortured me sometimes. But most of the time, outside of the abuse, they would make me laugh until tears rolled down my puffy cheeks. Uncle R, he knew karate, and he taught me karate. He called it the art of the empty hand, and he learned it from his sensei at the dojo on Saturday mornings, where he took me with him while I sat on the floor of the gymnasium and watched. He also taught me a game of quick eye movement that he called BLIP, B-L-I-P. In this particular game, the first person to look into the eyes of the other, who was your enemy, and blink and say blip, 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 would cause the other person to disappear and vanish right before your eyes. We did this all day, every time we passed each other, and it annoyed the hell out of my grandmother when she came home from a long day of work. We would be watching cartoons, Fat Albert, Giant Robot, Johnny Psycho, Soul Train, and if we locked eyes, you would hear blip, blip, blip. Oh, you disappeared. No, you disappeared. No, I got you first. Back and forth and back and forth. That was a fond memory. You had to have quick eye movement in order to make your enemy disappear with a blip. But when my molesters molested me, when my uncles molested me, I really wanted to blip them. What my maternal uncles taught me was how to move my hips and make noise on top of them as I grind. One particular day, my baby Uncle L, who was about 3 or 4 years old at the time, and I was much older, maybe 7 or 8 years old. My baby Uncle L was lying in my grandmother's bed, and my Uncle R, the one who taught me the karate, stopped me as I was going past the bedroom into the bathroom and said, "Do you see Uncle L lying in the bed?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want you to do it to him," because that's what they called it. They called it it. The grinding, fully clothed, they called it it. I don't really even recall if either one of my uncles ever had an erection, or whether or not it was just one uncle or the other, or both. But I do remember being under the cardboard makeshift houses under the blankets that we strung across the kitchen table and tied to the chairs underneath them. During the day when my grandmother was at work, they would teach me how to grind and make noise. My Uncle C often played a song by an artist, Sylvia, where she did a lot of moaning and grinding in a sexual way. And he taught me how to make that noise. But unlike Cousin T, my uncles would just laugh and giggle. They thought it was funny. I did not. So reliving the trauma that was caused upon me and my Uncle L by my younger uncles is very painful, because we both, my Uncle L and I, still remember. So as I was heading towards the bathroom, Uncle R stopped me and said, "You see baby Uncle Lee lying in Mama's bed?" Because we called all of our grandmothers Mama at that time, because that's who we spent the most of our day and our time and our night with, our grandmothers, who we called Mama. I said, "Yes." He said, "I want you to do it to him." And I knew exactly what he meant. He said, "Hurry up, run, do it now, do it now." And so I ran in the room, jumped on top of my sleeping baby uncle, and began to grind and make the noise like Sylvia. Ah, ah, ah. And baby Uncle L woke up and was petrified. He started screaming and crying. And I thought we were having fun as they taught me, so I didn't expect him to respond like that. I started screaming and crying. I was hurt. I just made my baby uncle cry, playing the same simple, fun game that my uncles had taught me. June 6, 2023, 11:31 a.m. at 11 seconds. I was fighting the tears when I was writing at this point, remembering how my baby uncle and I were traumatized by my two uncles, who were just probably being playful little boys, but molesters still. I can only think right now and wonder who did what they taught us to them, because it has to start somewhere. My maternal uncles, one of them had a best friend, and I'll call him E. I still remember his name. I still remember his face. E had a baby sister my age, and I'll refer to her as N. My maternal uncle, one of them, I'm not sure which one, and E, their best friend, introduced myself and N to child pornography. They never penetrated us. They never stuck anything inside of us. They never asked us to get totally naked. But they taught us child pornography as they watched as young boys, probably preteens. Under the covers of a makeshift tent in Uncle E's room, my maternal uncle, I'm sorry, not Uncle E, in my uncle's best friend's E's room, because their E's mother and N's mother, who I'd never seen, I just knew that she was at work because that was what we were told. Their mother was never home. So when my uncle would take me to E's house, it was just E and N, and we all were young. They called us latchkey children. My maternal uncle and his best friend E would tell N and I to take our panties down, not off, and grind on each other and make the noise of the Sylvia song. N and I cried while we did it, but my uncle and E, they laughed because they thought it was funny, and it was fun to watch. We did not like, N and I did not like grinding on each other. We didn't understand why we had to do it, but we had to do it for their entertainment. And even though I loved my uncles, I didn't understand why they made us grind. June 6, 2023, at 11:44 a.m. and 42 seconds. The repeated act of grinding on my friend N that was taught to us by my uncle made me very angry at myself, at them, at their best friend E, and my childhood friend N. I hated it. And because of these acts, I learned to hate myself for doing it. After the boys had a good time laughing at their pornographic acts that they taught N and I, we were able to go outside and play. We played on the jungle gyms. We spinned around on the merry-go-round, repeatedly slid down the sliding board. We played as if nothing had happened between us, although we were crying in that room under that makeshift tent. It was as if we had to entertain them before we could actually enjoy our youth, our young life outside on the playground. Most of the fathers in our neighborhood were ran out of the homes when we were children by welfare workers. I distinctly remember my older uncle, my Aunt Aura's husband, having to hide when the welfare lady came because he was not allowed in the home. I can distinctly remember the conversations between my mother and her sister, my Aunt Aura, about not being able to get government assistance if her husband was in the home. So we didn't have any men to protect us. My father was off on military duty, and my uncles were forbidden from being in their home with their children. The women just kept silent.